Hi, everyone. A very good morning. And we have with us for an in-conversation on transversing from global capability centers to game-changing catalyst. And we have with us Ananth Chandramouli, Executive Vice President and Managing Director, India Business Unit, Capgemini. Welcome, Ananth, and we're looking forward to this conversation with you.
Thank you for having me here today, Kritika. GCCs are the toast of the town.
Yeah.
I'm very excited to talk to you about this pertinent topic.
Absolutely.
And perhaps ideate on how we as an industry could maximize the immense potential of this opportunity.
Yeah, fantastic. So we know, right, Anand, that global capability centers have been setting up, mushrooming in India. And we also know that about 60% of the new GCCs established in India have all three functional areas, right? ER&D, IT, BPM. And India has firmly established itself as the go-to destination for GCCs, attracting an increasing number of global companies seeking to leverage the country's unparalleled advantage, right? And we see that the GCC mindset is evolving from being a capability center to being the nexus where innovation and value can be driven at scale. So, really looking forward to hearing from you. How do you see the role of global capability centers in India evolving from traditional functions to becoming hubs of innovation and value creation? And, what are the strategies that GCCs are using to leapfrog their capabilities and mindsets as compared to some of the GCCs that are set up, earlier? So, really looking forward to understanding from you some of this.
Sure, Kritika. Thank you for that question. First of all, taking a step back, majority of the existing 1600 odd GCCs are clearly going further up the value chain and maturing in their journey. There is absolutely no doubt about that. However, the opportunity there in front of all of us is that only 25% of the Fortune 500 companies and 15% of the Forbes Global 2000 have GCCs in India. So there is tremendous amount of headway. And that's what we are seeing unfold in front of us as new GCC wave today, right? On an average of almost, one per week being set up at a frenetic pace. So first of all, I think the learnings of the last 2 decades have immense potential for these new GCCs to truly leapfrog. Now, I definitely believe in that. And they could also create value a lot quicker than what was done by the GCCs earlier and through a wider business impact. This is sheer learning for the last 2 decades as an industry together, right? Nothing right or wrong between what was there earlier or now, but it's just the sheer learning. In fact, as part of the nasscom GCC conclave, where we were one of the sponsors, we had this exciting roundtable called, titled "Scaling Intelligent GCCs for Tomorrow." So there were 2 very important takeaways. All the attendees of the GCCs, they somehow felt a little bit constrained by the term global capability centers. Okay, they wanted it to be called, something different. And one of the things that we kind of converged was global transformation hub. Okay, so I think the GCCs are truly becoming global transformation hub, where they are integral to driving innovation, digital transformation, and also the strategic growth of the global enterprise. That is number one takeaway. Second is the GCC leadership. I think that's extremely crucial, and they have become undoubtedly global. Okay, and there are enough data points that we have been seeing in the last few weeks. But I think it has further enhanced the brand identity of the GCCs of India and given an equitable position at the table. Okay, for them to become a truly value-driven organization who can take part in the decision making of the global enterprise. I think these are the 2 fundamental changes that we have seen unfold in front of us in the last couple of decades, right? Now, coming to the new GCCs, that's what the question is, right? I believe they can truly leapfrog because of 3 broad aspects. Number one, right from day one, I think they can be set up as a global transformation hub, right? The past expectations of cost arbitrage, labor arbitrage, delivery excellence, innovation, ecosystem building, I think they are all now basic hygiene. Okay, the headquarters or the MNCs expect far beyond these basic hygiene aspects, right? So I think right from day one, the GCCs now can become truly part of a global enterprise and help in the business transformation journey. That is number one. Why is this so? Because I think the HQ has actually started looking at a much more holistic vision for GCC. It's not half-baked. They are not kind of taking tentative steps. It is coming full on to say that, okay, how can I leverage the best of India, right? I think that complete sponsorship from the CEO and the board is there. And secondly, of course, the overall perception of India as a country has undergone sea change in the last decade, and this is the most happening place. And quite a few of the enterprises that are setting up GCCs invariably have a domestic market angle as well. So they see GCC as an entry point, right? So all this is possible in my view. I think the ability for the new GCC to become a global transformation hub is because of the fundamental GCC leadership pool that we have today. Okay, these people have actually kind of have the advantage of being there, done that kind of respect, so to speak, and they've done it across multiple cultures. Okay, so that is number one. The second aspect of leapfrogging is faster time to value. If you look at the past GCCs, I think it took some time for them to take off, 3 years, 4 years, and then start delivering value. That is because they were set up predominantly as a tech program delivery centers, right? And right now, as I told, I think the new GCCs can truly start driving business initiatives right from day one. And they will be looking at the enterprise growth, profitability, and with customer-centric approach at the core. With all these things, I think the expectation again is, tell me how can I improve my, find new revenue streams, how can I innovate my business model? The answers are coming from the new GCCs. And hence, I strongly believe that time to value can be far, far quicker in the new GCCs today, right? And the last one is that the new GCCs have the opportunity to start collaborating with a larger ecosystem, again, by design from day one. It's not an afterthought. And there are three aspects of the collaboration, right? One is, of course, the peer GCC collaboration, the physical proximity and the collaboration bottom up, right from the R&D teams together. I think that creates immense opportunities for both the, MNCs. Second is the startup ecosystem, which we will delve deep, which is your cup of tea. I think there are a variety of open innovation models that the GCCs are trying. I think there is a great opportunity again for those enterprises who play also in the domestic market to use this as an innovation hub much better, right? And lastly, I have been a very strong proponent of collaboration between GCCs and the service providers. We must cooperate, not compete, and we must leverage each other, not lock horns. The opportunities, in my view, are far more, compared to the challenges. In fact, in the NTLF, Kritika, early this year, there was a roundtable initiated by nasscom to drive this collaboration between service providers and GCCs. Right. So I'm confident that the coverage that we talk about on cannibalization will die down eventually, and we could only expand the pie together. The GCCs and service providers can really expand the pie together.
Right. Thank you, Ananth. This is superly, insightful. And, can you just go a little more into, how are GCCs rethinking their relationships with service providers? You did touch upon that, but could you just go in a little bit deeper? Are they becoming strategic partners? And how do you see the shift happening, right? This relationship between the IT services and GCCs?
No, absolutely, Kritika. This is a very often asked question, and I continue to stand my ground stating that this is a great opportunity for collaboration and cooperation, okay, and not competition at all. Why? I'll cover this across the life cycle of the GCCs in three components. First and foremost, when the new GCCs come and set up today, I think it's not 2 decades ago, but today, it's all about core versus context. Okay, what is core to me as a business is what I'm trying to kind of expand through the GCC setup in India. And predominantly, if you look at it, the core part of it is still insourced. It's not at outsourced from the headquarters yet, right? So there is no cannibalization. So the insourced part, which is being done elsewhere in the world, perhaps due to talent crunch, due to higher cost, etc., is getting transitioned to India. Now, when this kind of a core workload is getting transitioned to India, the transition success itself is extremely crucial. If you don't do that well in the initial few months, I think it's going to be a dead end, right? That is where I think most of the GCCs are looking at the service providers to provide that collaboration and support. And there are various models that are emerging. Of course, the well-known build, operate, transfer. Why is that a build, operate, transfer? The initial skill sets, the initial know-how of your core, the ability to kind of transition without a hiccup, etc., come into play, right? So build, operate, transfer is an important model. Then there are other models like joint venture, where the service providers can actually kind of put their skin in the game, okay, to ensure that this core workload is kind of getting transferred to India. And of course, there are other in-between models like co-hosted model. So there are multiple things that are emerging. So very clearly to me, I think when the new GCCs are set up purely for core workloads, which are the low-hanging fruits, there is an opportunity for the GCCs to leverage service providers. Okay, even for the long tenured GCCs, which are here for a decade or 2 decades. Okay, as they move up the value chain, the core versus context itself is dynamic, right? What is core today may not have been, what is core tomorrow will not be, it becomes a more of a context, right? What is core today becomes a context tomorrow. So under such circumstances, the GCCs want to continue to lead the way in terms of core workloads and leave the contextual part of the service providers. Again, the leverage part of it comes into play. So that is number one. Number two, quite a few small GCCs, which have been set up in the last 5 years to 10 years or so, mostly the mid-size MNCs, I think they had challenges in terms of scaling up due to various constraints. I don't want to get into the reasons of constraints, but there are quite a few of them. Out of the 1,600, you can clearly count quite a few which are actually below 500, right? So we have helped quite a few smaller GCCs to scale up 5x, 10x, okay, in a very short period of time. So there is a need for the collaboration between service providers and the GCCs in the form of scaling up, right? The third and most important one is innovation, okay? Most of the large tech and digital sector GCCs by default are tech players themselves. So there are no challenges for them to attract the technology talent. But if you leave alone that, the industrial manufacturing or any other, brick and mortar past sectors, they have difficulty in terms of attracting the sparse talent when it comes to leading edge technology. For example, a large French logistics major wanted to kind of set up a AI innovation in Bangalore, right? And the first stop was to collaborate with Capgemini. In fact, we are co-hosting them inside our Bangalore campus, okay, to kickstart this entire AI, generative AI related, leverage of technology. The idea is to basically, look at the ecosystem of partners that we bring to table, look at the use cases in the logistics arena, and bring them quickly up to speed in terms of the proof of value. The scaling up of that proof of value can be done through various means. So this innovation lab is purely a funnel of ideas, bringing in the partner ecosystem that we have in India and quickly put together the proof of value, right? So I think I see a lot of avenues like this, to sum it up, leverage, scale, and innovate. These are the three avenues through which I believe the GCCs and service providers can collaborate with each other for the benefit of both, and truly add value and accelerate value to the GCCs.
Right. No, very, very interesting, Ananth. And, then that makes me think about, innovation. We're talking so much about innovation, so much of the influence of, AI and automation, right? So how are you seeing, GCCs contributing to innovation at scale? And how are these centers becoming more critical in driving tech-enabled business transformation? Right. And yeah, just want to hear from you. How are you looking at this overall innovation at scale growth happening here?
Sure. No, very, very interesting and pertinent question, Kritika. So I'll kind of touch upon a Capgemini Research Institute report titled "The Power of Open Minds." It basically talks about the importance of embracing open innovation by enterprises. Open innovation is beyond your, four walls. How do you kind of open up the innovation to your partners, and how do you bring the power of the ecosystem? That's broadly the concept, right? The open innovation models are many. One is the labs themselves, which are pretty much what the the GCCs are doing today. It could be crowdsourcing, it could be venture clienting, it could be venture building. There are quite a few corporate VC setups. You have corporate accelerators and incubators and so on and so forth. There are varieties of open innovation models. In that report, interestingly, 71% of the enterprises told that they're going to further increase the investments in open innovation. However, only 22% told that, okay, they really kind of got the outcomes to the extent that they would have expected it to, right? So there is clearly a need for improving the efficacy, which is where I think Capgemini kind of comes in. One of the initiatives that we have internally is something called a startup catalyst, okay? This startup catalyst is nothing but an open ecosystem that connects our clients' businesses with the startups that deliver, dynamic innovation strategies at scale. In fact, we have close to about 2,000 startups on the platform, and 125 of them are already working with some of our clients as we speak, right? So the idea is to implement a hybrid innovation model. Now, coming to your question, how can the service provider, GCC, and the startup/DeepTech innovation system, come to the fore? Example, again, I'll take that French logistics major. While we set up that AI innovation lab in Bangalore, we also kind of look at partnering with quite a few startups in India, right? So we leverage the startup catalyst ecosystem that I mentioned, identified deep tech startups in the logistics space, and integrated them with the open data stack of India, especially the ULIP and ONDC. ULIP stands for the Unified Logistics Interface Platform, and ONDC, of course, stands for the Open Network Digital Commerce, right? So this was, the interesting part was this logistics major had operations in India domestic market as well. So how do you bring this India deep tech ecosystem plus the open data stack of India government, etc., and then create certain use cases like container forecasting model for better operational efficiency, cargo readiness for the import-export processes, etc., for improved transparency. So there is a lot of work going on. I believe this triangle is a very important one, right? GCCs, service providers, and the deep tech startups in India. And it's basically an ongoing journey. The outcomes so far have been fairly encouraging in my view. So in a nutshell, I think I see a lot of potential to unlock value if we get this triangle correct. The GCCs, service providers, and the deep tech startups, if there is a very good open innovation model that we can actually kind of come up with, where there is a win-win-win for all the three parties, I think we have huge potential to be unlocked, Kritika. So on that note, I was always curious to know, given your vantage point in nasscom, right, and you being a deep tech startup person yourself, how do you see this ecosystem unfolding in India? What do you think are the challenges? What are the opportunities for us to truly kind of unlock the value here, Kritika?
No, thanks for that question, and thanks for framing this in a really nice way about the whole open innovation and everything. So couple of things, right, Ananth, from where we see it. See, one is, I think from a deep tech ecosystem, startup ecosystem perspective, I think we've not even scratched the surface. We're at about 3,600 deep tech startups, and there's a huge way to go, right? And definitely from where we see it, and I think everybody knows this as well, and I think deep tech startups have a huge potential of, many social challenges, and how do you use technology to solve for better better food, more, and distribution of that food, and all of that, right? And healthcare especially, right? And we're seeing huge changes, and I think GCCs have been very crucial in this piece in terms of we are close to about 1,000 incubators and accelerators, but across the country. But we see a lot of value coming from the incubators and accelerators that are run by GCCs in particular, right? Because of it's not just about what money they put on the table, right? It's more about the data that you spoke about. It's more about the technology, the more in terms of support, in terms of talent that they get, right? Like more of the talent tech support that they get in building out their product as well. So that overall influence is, I think we see it playing a huge advantage. But having said that, I think we have a long way to go, and us as an ecosystem, right? How do we build better IP frameworks for the deep tech startups to patent their work? How are we building out more patient capital in this country, right? And sometimes the deep tech startups can be working on something for 8 years, 10 years, right, without a revenue model. But that's what DeepTech is about, right? So how do we build more patient capital for them? How do you bring the ecosystem together for that? And of course, the DeepTech startups struggle a lot with lack of talent, right? So how as an ecosystem are we going to build this better deep tech talent, I think is crucial. And I think another fourth piece, which is extremely important, is also the whole industry academia collaboration, right? Faster lab to market, faster commercialization of ideas, and how as an ecosystem do we pull all that together? I think that's where we are seeing it, and we see a lot of work cut out for ourselves together as an ecosystem to drive some of this. But it's a very, very exciting time, and the more we get into it, and of course there is a lot of policy changes as well that are needed, because if I just take healthcare as an example, right, for a healthcare deep tech startup, he has n number of challenges in terms of licensing and so much of other policy related things. So how do we continue to work on this and I would say build more awareness, evangelize the needs of this, and focus on what they're solving for, right? I think that way we have it cut out for ourselves.
Thank you, Kritika. Very, very insightful. Yeah. I think the vantage point does help.
No, thank you. This has been a brilliant, conversation, Ananth. And I just want to round up this conversation by asking you, how do you see all of this, shaping out in the next couple of years? And what are I won't really say a trend or something like this, but how do you see this shaping out over the next few years? From an overall,
I am super excited. I think as the topic of our conversation, I see this entire new GCC wave to be a game-changing catalyst. Okay, so and there is a place for everybody. And again, I want to kind of say that I have a very strong viewpoint about the fact that there is nothing like cannibalization. Okay, it's all in the mind. Okay, the ability for us to kind of come together at the end of the day. Value trumps everything. Okay, if we can actually kind of together create value, I think we can expand the pie, right? And then when you kind of include the deep tech startup ecosystem that is kind of really flourishing in India, we have not really leveraged them to the extent that we would have loved them to, right? So I think there is again an opportunity for the collaboration piece to kind of come in. And ultimately, I think the leadership potential that we have in India, right? Both on the service provider side, that has been kind of definitely, that has come to the fore quite a few years back, but especially on the GCCs where global roles are getting played from India. I think this is the place. I'm so very happy. I'm kind of in a market where both the domestic market as well as the GCC market segment, both are revving, and I think it augurs well for the ITES industry as a whole, Kritika. I think that is my viewpoint, and I'm going to really make my bets big time for the next 4-5 years on this development.
Great, Ananth. Thank you so much. This was an absolutely delightful conversation, and thank you for taking the time out and sharing your thoughts with us. And I'm sure folks out there are really going to enjoy and benefit from this conversation. Thank you once again for doing this.
Thank you very much, Kritika. Appreciate it.